This is a national day of mourning in Sri Lanka for the victims of the Easter Sunday bombings across the country. The number of dead has risen again this morning, now to 321. Hundreds more are injured, and this morning the first mass funerals for those killed have taken place. This is a scene in the city of Negombo, which is north of the capital, Colombo. Victims' families gathering this morning in the courtyard of the St. Sebastian Church, where more than 100 people were killed on Sunday. And 2 days after those attacks, the situation is still evolving. Lots of new developments for us this morning. Renee Filippone is tracking all of those from London for us. What is the updated information this hour, Renee?
Well, Heather, this hour we're hearing that ISIS is claiming responsibility for the attack, but they're not giving any evidence about their involvement or even to support that claim at all. You know, after many attacks which are associated with Islamic extremists, this is something they tend to do, claim responsibility, but it's unclear what role, indirect, direct, or if they actually played a role at all in the bombings on Sunday. Now, the latest on the investigation comes from the defense minister in Parliament today. He said the Easter Sunday bombings were retaliation for the attacks on mosques in Christchurch, New Zealand last month. He, however, did not explain further about why he was making that connection and what evidence he had to support that claim. He also continued to place blame on a local Islamist group, the National Tawhid Jamaat. And according to authorities, all 7 bombers involved were Sri Lankans. Now, we've seen CCTV footage emerging from St. Sebastian's Church, and it shows a young man with a large backpack entering just moments before the blast. I want you to have a listen to what one security analyst had to say about why he believes there was help from outside Sri Lanka in these very coordinated attacks.
I know from my days as a special agent with the State Department investigating acts of terror like this, I would find it hard to believe due to the sheer size and the scope and the number of targets, as well as the sophistication, that this group at a localized level did not get help from outside in some capacity.
Now, Sri Lanka's leadership remains under question over who knew what, when, and why nothing was done. Officials confirmed yesterday they had been warned about a possible attack by this group weeks ago. And in fact, it was spelled out in a memo that some important churches could be targeted and even named individuals that could be likely involved in it. The warning from intelligence agencies never reached the Prime Minister's office until after the bombings, raising some major concerns about how the government is operating there.
So we have been watching. I mean, we've had live pictures of these mass funerals. Renee, here are some of the scenes from earlier this morning, just heartbreaking scenes of families gathered around graves and prayers and memorials like this one. It is a national day of mourning today. What else is happening in the country?
Well, a state of emergency continues today, which basically gives the Sri Lankan government military wartime powers. And so far, we know they've arrested 40 people, including the driver of the van used by the suicide bombers and the owner of the home where some of the accused live. And authorities in Sri Lanka will also brief foreign diplomats at some point today and intelligence agencies like the FBI about where their investigation is at and what they knew when. All of this going on, as you mentioned, while these funerals are taking place, many of them being held outside and in tents because the parishes where the people prayed were destroyed. And with that day of mourning going on in Sri Lanka, there was also 3 minutes of silence held at 8:30 this morning, marking 2 days since those bombs went off.
Renee, thank you, tracking the latest for us in London this morning.